Shiny head.
Shiny head.
Why do you get a shiny head?
Because it's really hot.
It's not hot. It's normal.
It's not. This is really hot.
It is recording already. You know that, don't you?
Oh, we're at like 3 minutes. Oh, dick.
Okay. I had to get one more in. We're doing this early. It's Thursday. You're going back to the UK tonight.
Yep.
Lucky you. I tell you what, mate. You're sick of being hot. Go home. You'll be fine. So we've been at NDC Security. Do you want to talk about what you did?
Yeah, so my 2-day TLS training course on Monday and Tuesday there. And then on Wednesday yesterday, I did Crashburn Report, which is all about the reporting API and these cool like reporting mechanisms built into the browsers now. And then we did Cyberbroken V2 at the end of the conference to close out.
I'm going to come back to Cyberbroken because there's some stuff on there which I think... Well, we'll talk about what it was and what you can't see anywhere online. So I did Hack Yourself first. I never actually tracked how many times I've done it. I must be up to like 80 times or something. I've done this. It'll be 81. Yeah, I know. You know what? It's the times that I'm back to back that's hard. So I did it 10 times, very often, like day after day after day in Europe a couple of years ago, and that was hard because you just forget. Have I told the joke already? Have I spoken about this already?
What day is it?
I know, and I must seem like a raving lunatic. I'm going to do it again in Minnesota for NDC Minnesota
next week.
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm heading off there tomorrow. And I'm going to do it again in New York the week after. So if you're in Minnesota or New York, I will be at those two things as well. So you're going somewhere next week as well, right?
Yeah, I'm in Poland at InfoShare, so doing a Crashburn Report there again. And I'm literally doing a round... So I'm going all the way back to the UK, got a few days to de-jet lag, and then I'm doing a round trip to Poland in a day just to do the talk at the conference.
So that's something we can never really do in Australia. Like you don't do a round trip to another country.
Anywhere. Not in a day.
Well, you might do a round trip to another state.
Yeah.
That would be it.
It's like 2 like 1 hour flights there and then like 2
Yeah.
1 hour flights back for me.
Well, I was just looking at my trip. So for me to get to Minnesota, I've got to drive an hour north to Brisbane, fly an hour and a half south to Sydney, fly 15 and a half hours to Dallas, fly another 2.5 hours.
For those on the podcast, I'm
Screw you,
playing
mate.
my violin in the background.
Anyway. Incidentally, while you're doing that, there is actually a website called sadviolin.com. If ever anyone starts a sad story about like how warm they are or something like that, you go sadviolin.com and it plays it all for you. It's perfect. Okay, so that's the next stuff coming up. So we're going to be like relatively brief this morning because if I'm honest, we just want to go wakeboarding before you go back to the UK. So we're going to go to Gold Coast Wake Park, which is good fun. I did actually just have a thought, like I really need to make sure I don't injure myself today.
As opposed to all the other days when you went out and you're like, screw my legs, they can break.
Concern, YOLO. All right, so I had a tweet that got a lot of traction this week, and you were present for this, which was the one about my 9-year-old son and his iPhone. Now, we've spent a bunch of time talking about sort of kids and safety and things lately. You know, you've got a 5-year-old, I've got a 6 and a 9-year-old. We're conscious of that as parents. We're conscious as InfoSec folks that there's a lot of screwy stuff out there as well. We're talking about TikTok Track the other day and some of the other nasty things. We might come back to them a bit later. And one of the things that I've been really lamenting lately is that there's a lot of products out there designed to keep children safe. Keep all the nasty things away.
Please think of the children.
And I don't just mean the watch stuff, but things like products that parents can use for parental controls and things. And one of the things that's frankly bugged me is the amount of stuff being sold which is already done natively by the operating system. So for example, Windows PCs, Apple iPhones, Google Android devices, there are parental controls built into all these things. And it's not like they're all the same. It's not like there's no value at all from third-party products, but I think people miss a lot of the fundamental native stuff. Now, I don't miss this because I am a responsible parent and I turn these things on. However, this is where the tweet comes from. So my 9-year-old, we've got and I want to quantify a few things along the way as well, because it was one of these tweets where a bunch of people frankly said things that pissed me off, and you saw them as well. So here's the tweet. I'm a responsible parent, so I use the controls on iOS to limit screen time on the old iPhone my 9-year-old uses. Now, we'll begin there. A bunch of people got a bit upset because they said a 9-year-old shouldn't have an iPhone. Now, I was very short on characters in this tweet. I made sure I said old iPhone. I just realized, like, my drawer, like this is the value of iPhones, right? And for those of you just listening, This is like a handful of old iPhones in a drawer.
Dude, is that like a
Now, there's
3GS or
a,
something?
that one's a 5. They're 4s.
Oh, it's a 4. Okay.
But look, they're old devices. Now the one that he's using at the moment is slightly newer. It's pre-Face ID. I think it was a 9 or something like that. There's an old hand-me-down which was floating around. Doesn't have a SIM card. Never leaves the house. And it's a device that he can use. And I mean, you see this as well, right? So he can use this to sort of start exploring the internet. He always uses it down in the living room around us, and you can have some visual control. So I'll come back to that. So for the people losing their minds that they think a 9-year-old's carrying around an iPhone with a 4G card in it and making phone calls and, I don't know, like trading on the market or something during his lunchtime, no, that's not it. And secondly, it's none of your damn business either. And this is the thing, like, that bugged both of us. It's like, why are you coming forth to interject your social view of the world? Like someone said on one of the responses, child shouldn't have an iPhone until they're 11. I'm like, well, why not 12?
It's like, yeah, arbitrary age is arbitrary.
Like arbitrary. Is it possible that maybe there are different circumstances in which they may have them, and different children ready at different ages to do this sort of thing? And my 9-year-old, I think you'd agree, is a pretty mature kid for his age. I don't think my daughter's going to be a mature kid for her age when she reaches 9.
There's an imbalance.
Kids are different. Anyway, here's the bit though. So I use the parental controls. The tweet goes on. A whitelisted exception, so remembering I use the parental controls, a whitelisted exception is iMessage. And this is the default. So when you turn on parental controls on an iOS device, it whitelists the phone, so they can make a phone call if they need to. It whitelists iMessage and it whitelists Maps. But something like Safari, for example, is not in the whitelist, which basically means when you set screen time and you say, for example, you've got a maximum of an hour, they can use any of the whitelisted things after that hour. So they could, in theory, be messaging 24/7, but they couldn't use Safari, they couldn't use YouTube, things like this. So, a whitelisted exception is iMessage. He's worked out he can send someone a YouTube video, then watch it in iMessage to circumvent the controls. So proud, teary face. And then I screen capped it, and there's a screen cap here of the phone saying, time limit, you've reached your time limit on YouTube, you can ask for more time. Then I just flick over, there's another photo here of iMessage, and he's there watching kill counts, and there's a sort of a crazy zombie thing on the next screen. So we'll come back to what the people said about the content as well in a moment. Jesus. But I guess the interesting thing here was that he had figured out how to circumvent the parental controls. Now, okay, I mean, he gets a bit of cyber exposure because of the nature of what I do, and he's around you. He certainly gets some exposure to some of this too. We're picking padlocks yesterday. So yeah, he thinks about this, but to me, like the macro discussion here was that kids will figure out ways around controls. Sure. And I was a bit proud. I thought it was pretty cool. And other people thought it was cool too, because it's had about 8,500 likes so far. I think this is probably my most liked tweet ever. Nice. And it was only from, when was this? From the 27th. A few
days ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got some legs left on it yet. So, I thought that was kind of hilarious. A lot of other people did as well. In fact, a lot of other people replied with links to things about how their own kids have circumvented certain controls, or, blog posts about how to get around various controls. Yep. And kids will always do it. And I guess one of the points here is that for parents going out getting these parental control things, that they're good. And I'm going to leave it turned on. I might remove iMessage. In fact, I have removed iMessage from the whitelist. It's like, level it up, dude. See how you go from here. But I don't also want to be too draconian about it. And all right, granted, it would be different if I thought he was actually doing something dangerous where he had really negative influences that might cause harm or something like that. But this sort of thing, I'm quite okay with. I think you probably are too, aren't you? Yeah,
you've got to... I don't think that you can substitute education and trust and understanding with 100% technical control and be like, I can just give my kid this phone and have zero thought process about what they're doing with it. There's always going to be... And for me, with my little boy, we've got this little cheap laptop for him, and it's a similar scenario. He can only use that while supervised, and he goes on these kids coding things online. I don't think there's ever going to be a level of control where you can just give them the device and not have any afterthoughts and not have to trust them to some degree. So it's a balance of the two, I think. For me, anyway. I would never...
Yeah, it's it's still okay to talk to your children.
Yeah. We can still have conversations about responsible use of devices and things that you can and can't do on the internet.
I'm dropping stuff into a big blog post about this, and that that to me is a real cornerstone. And look, I appreciate there are certainly kids out there that are going to be a lot more difficult. There are kids out there that have learning disabilities and things like this, which make it much harder to reason with them. And we're all in situations where we don't have that to deal with at this stage. But I just get this feel from many people that they expect the technology to be able to do the parenting for them.
Yeah.
So anyway, on to the things people are critical about. So part of it was a 9-year-old with an iPhone. Honestly, and I think there's a macro discussion here. We're going to come back to it when we talk about some other stuff later on as well, where people just seem to want to interject their personal point of view in a derogatory, negative fashion. Like I would have preferred if people sort of said, look, how do you decide what is the right age? Let me understand your point of view. As opposed to just saying, basically you're a bad parent, you're doing the wrong thing. Now, he was watching something that looked a little bit gory. He was watching Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, 1989, Kill Count, from an account called Dead Meat. It is really, really hard to try and filter down content. I'll tell you one of the challenges I had here very early on. So Ari, and look, Ari's been on, he's done public talks and things. They know who he is now, which he's very, very happy about.
Get him a t-shirt.
Get him the t-shirt. A little while ago, a couple of years back, he says, look, I would like to be able to like YouTube videos and have favorites so I can come back and watch them. Again, don't worry about which videos they are. It was the premise of being able to use these sort of basic controls. And I sort of thought about it and went, well, something like that is pretty benign. Like this is part of entering a technology world as a child growing into a teenager and an adult. This would be really good. So what I'll do is I'll create a Google account, and then under that Google, he won't even need to know the password. I'll just log him onto the device and he can go favorite, something like that. Now the problem is you got to be 13 because copper. Now that's a really easy fix. You just make him 13. so you just sit the account and go, oh, bugger it, you're 13 now. But he was 7 or something at the time. Now the problem then is that the content starts getting tailored to people of that genre, of that age. And he's like, Daddy, why do I keep seeing scary clowns? And I was like, well, you're seeing scary clowns because you wanted to favourite video. Like, how do you explain that to a child? That's a hard problem. The other thing is that we all know that all of these things are easily circumventable, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get classified correctly anyway. And I think we come back to the point of, within reason, and I can certainly think of many things online that you and I have probably both seen accidentally in the past that I would not really want him seeing as a 9-year-old. But I'm also not of the view that if he finds this stuff and sends it to him in an iMessage or something like that, that's not going to upset me too much. He and a bunch of his friends at school, I guess, are doing what 9-year-old boys like to do, and they like seeing clips of horror movies. I would not sit there and watch Friday the 13th with him on the TV. I wouldn't let him sit there and watch Friday the 13th. I think it would scare him. But if he wants to go and watch narrated YouTube kill counts for this sort of thing, my feeling as a parent, which might be different to yours, it might be more liberal and more strict than yours. I'm okay with that. I'm just not okay with other people popping up and telling me I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on this in the very end of our talk yesterday, and like the toll that this like constant they're like little nips online, right? Like you post something online like this, and you're getting all of these little they feel like little kind of chips at you, right?
Little
like,
barbs from people online.
And it becomes hard to deal with those over time. And people are like, oh, just ignore them, just let them go. And there's a cost associated with doing that. And someone made a really good comment in Cyberbroken, like it's the rule of numbers or something. And like as the number of followers increases, like the tiny percentage of these constantly negative comments increases and your tolerance decreases. And I just see these things now, and sometimes they just get under your skin and you're like, nope, I'm going to reply.
So Phil Hack said that. So I think he's got 50,000 odd followers or something when I checked the other day. So, that's a healthy number. You're going to have, if you have 1% of that, it's like, okay, well, you have 500 people that are going to be dicks. And 500 people being dicks, you're going to notice.
That's a lot.
Speaking of being dicks, muted conversation. And speaking of Phil as well, so
this is his picture.
This sort of illustrates the point perfectly here. I will link to this because this is just demonstrates the frustration perfectly. So Phil Phil was out with us on the boat on Sunday. We went out, we had a lovely time, like beautiful, perfect Gold Coast weather. You and I were there, my kids were there, Phil and his kids were there, Charlotte from NDC was there. Like, we all had a really, really nice time. Phil takes this photo, like everyone's smiling. We're on like flat, calm water doing 6 knots.
In the river.
in inland waterways. Phil says, lovely day on Troy Hunt's boat with Charlotte, Ling, Scott, Helm and kids. And someone replies, and their entire reply is, I am upset that nobody is wearing their life vest. Well...
It's like, nice boat, friends together, sunny day, positive thing,
you all look happy. I'm upset.
Like, I'm
jeez. I actually had a bunch of this stuff happen at once. In fact, I replied to 5 different things of a very similar nature. And then I put out a tweet and I said, look at my last 5 replies. This is the reason why I'm doing less twittering these days. And a bunch of people just jumped in and said very nice things around, look, yeah, please don't stop because it's useful. People are just dicks. But I don't know. It's like, can you imagine if, like, would the guy have ever walked up to us on the beach and said, I am upset that you're not wearing your life vest? And to be clear as well, the requirements for wearing a life vest in Australia is if the boat, I think in Queensland, the boat's got to be under 4.5 metres long, then children have to wear one. Or if you're crossing a bar into an open... Like, all of these criteria which are just not being met. So it's just someone being a dick. I'm going to link to it because it pissed me off. Anyway, moving on. So we did Cyberbroken yesterday. Now, Cyberbroken was a talk that we did 1 year ago for the first time after we... Well,
it was a year, wasn't it?
It was a year because it was here. So it was after Jake with NDC had asked me to do a second talk, and I said, yeah, fine, I'll do one with Scott, and then I forgot to tell you until the day of the talk. And we did it anyway.
Story.
It was kind of hilarious because I just basically threw shade at Scott the whole time, and people seem to really like that. Now, we decided to then do that in subsequent NDCs because it was so successful. NDC Oslo, we had all these people. We did it last thing on the Friday, didn't we?
Yeah.
All these people afterwards going, best talk of the show, and just really liking it.
That was nice.
We did it at the party at NDC London as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do it in Sydney?
Much beer there.
I'm trying to remember.
In Sydney?
I'm sure we did. Anyway, it might have been the much beer, we can't remember. So we wanted to do it again, but we needed a new version. So we did Cyberbroken 2, which we did for the first time yesterday. Went really well. And I thought, just since we have you here, and this is kind of your ballywick, is we talk about one of the things that we put in there. Incidentally, we never record the Cyberbrokens because it's a combination of, I don't think slanderous is the right word, but it's very, very direct about some of the individuals online, some of the things that are said. But
just allows you to be a bit more candid, right? And
it's very candid. It's a little bit swearier than a normal talk as well. It's meant to be a light-hearted, fun talk, and we drink beer. So we had a bit in here about Trustico. Now, do you want to just give the elevator pitch about what happened with Trustico last year and the private keys and the email?
So yeah, Trustico is a CA. I don't know if they have an office here. They have an office in a company in the UK, and they're
when you say here, like literally 5 minutes drive.
Yeah,
away,
like
which we learned
we can
last
walk
year.
there. So yeah, they're a reseller. They're not like their own fully fledged CA, so they resell like Komodo or Digicert or whoever. And they were changing like the organization that they resell last year, and they wanted like all of their customers to move from their old reseller to their new reseller. And you would normally do that over a protracted period of time. Like as people's old certificates expire, you just renew with the new ones. And some things happened behind the scenes, and essentially they were like, no, we're just going to force everybody to like rebuy new certificates now. And to do that, I mean, like you can ask your customers to buy new certificates, and they can just be like, no, we'll just wait until this one that still works runs out in 18 months from now. So they were like, right, well, we're just going to kill all of your old certificates. We're just going to revoke them all, as a technical term for a certificate, where you can try to stop it from working. But to do that, you either have to be able to prove control of the domain, which that CA couldn't do, or prove control of the private key. Now, nobody else is supposed to have your private key, hence the name private key, because it's supposed to be private to you. And this CA was like, oh, hey, by the way, like we took a backup of all of them for you, and we've like shoved them, 23,000 of them, I think it was. We've shoved 23,000 of them in a zip file and then sent them over the internet to prove that...
So now they're compromised.
They're compromised. And of course, this means that everyone then has to toss these things in the bin, which means the certificates have to go in the bin, which means everyone had to rebuy new certificates.
Now that was a mess, and that was roughly a year ago. And we won't go into all the details of what happened there. I thought we might just talk about some of the newer stuff with my chat with them this week. But basically, you had a bit of argy-bargy with them on Twitter. They were. Does that translate to English? England language?
Good England, I speak not.
But basically what it boiled down to, they were saying the ICO, Information Commissioner's Office in the UK, forces them to have it. You're like, no, this is crap. CC ICO. ICO's like, no, this is crap. And then they blocked you.
It was so good to get a response from a proper government department on Twitter.
It was good. So they blocked you. So we went over to their building and took photos of you in front of it, and much hilarity ensued. But anyway, so as part of putting this in a Cyber and Talk, because there is an interesting discussion here about crypto and these bits and pieces, I went to their website and it pops up this model over the entire page. Everyone loves seeing that when you go to a site, don't you? It says, don't risk your search ranking. Don't be scammed by cheaper options. Using another provider could be risky business. And I was like, this just sounds like all kinds of shit. So let's actually have a look at what that means. And there's just a lot of really bizarre stuff in there. So things like, they're selling DV certs for $151 a year. And then you go through and you have a read of all the things you get. And there's a whole bunch of checkboxes here. There's like ticks next to it. This is what you do when you want to make a positive impression about something which is otherwise just an inane bullet point. You turn the bullet point into a tick, not a cross.
Positive indicator.
Positive indicator. Yeah, things like there's the $10,000 relaying party warranty. Yeah, do you want to explain what that is again?
So like this... So a relying party warranty, a CA is only, I'll use PayPal as the example, a CA issues a certificate to PayPal.com and they're supposed to check that you are PayPal.com, like the genuine website. Now, CAs can make mistakes, and let's say you, evil hacker person, go to the CA and somehow trick them to say you're PayPal.com and they give you your PayPal.com certificate. You then use that to either intercept the traffic of people going to the genuine PayPal and decrypt it, or set up a fake PayPal.com. You can then get those people's credentials. They can then come to like some financial loss because you stole their credit card data or emptied their PayPal account. The warranty protects the financial loss of that person that you scammed and you took their money from. So that's what a relying party warranty will pay out for when that person then goes to the CA and says, I lost like $1,000 from my PayPal account. Thank you,
So the important thing there is that if you're the company looking at spending the money buying the certificate, you don't actually get the protection of the warranty.
Correct.
It's someone else completely different. And you went through this because you wrote a blog post. I must try and link to this actually, about what do you actually get for warranties. I've got a funny side story to this too. You don't know this. So you wrote this blog post about what do you actually get from the warranty. And basically, between you and I, we could not get any answer as to whether anyone had ever been paid out a warranty.
And this is weird, right? Like, most like used car warranty companies or appliance warranty companies or anything, they're like, oh, we paid out like 27,000 claims last year for a total of this because our products are worth it. Please buy them. I've gone to like all of the CAs and been like, how many of you paid out? And like, how much have you paid out? And it's like either we can't provide that, we won't provide that, or tumbleweed.
So remember there was that guy who we were pushing because I think he was a reseller, and we were pushing him going, you are selling certificates with warranty. Has anyone ever actually been paid out on a warranty? And he was very defensive, and the words he used is he said, we were just nerds from Nerdsville.
Yep.
Remember that?
Nerds from Nerdsville.
That dude has deleted all his tweets. They've all gone.
Melee?
No, it wasn't Melee.
Someone different?
No, it was a reseller.
Ooh.
Remember?
Yes. That was a while back.
Yeah, it was last year because I think you were here at the time. Oh, maybe, I can't remember. But anyway, all these tweets are gone. Profile photos gone. Almost looks like the whole profile's been deleted. So the guy's dropped off the face of the earth. All right, so there was that one. So the relying party one's kind of weird. It does also say here, they say some SS... Now, to be clear, a lot of what Trustico is doing is taking pot shots at Let's Encrypt. And they do actually mention Let's Encrypt later on in my discussion with them. But they're obviously upset about Let's Encrypt because they're cutting into their lunch. Some SSL certificate issuers have weak validation methods and do not offer any type of warranty. We do not recommend purchasing an SSL certificate that does not include a warranty. I don't think we recommend purchasing an SSL certificate at all.
Correct.
Get one for free. All right, so they then go on. They talk about, what was the next one I talked about here? There's a 30-day refund guarantee. You get your money back in 30 days. Does Let's Encrypt offer you money back? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're not happy with your certificate, they will give you all of your money back.
All the money you gave them.
Yep.
So then they say, you drill down on this, it says, within 30 days of order, customer may request a cancellation and full refund on customer qualifying SSL certificate product for any reason. You are going to do this, aren't you? You've got to do this.
It literally says, any reason, I'm going to put that to the test.
Okay, please. Don't tell them we're going to do this.
Yeah, like, shh. Oh, damn, I'm going to have to buy it like today and get a refund before you publish.
You will. There's the 20... Okay, you picked up on this point. One of the bullet points here, which I didn't drill down on, is 256-bit strong SSL encryption. This is what you get with your certificate, right?
Yep, so this irks me because the only thing that you're going to be using that's 256-bit, because it's a super bland comment, is they're obviously referring to the size of the symmetric key that you use to encrypt data that goes over the connection. That has nothing to do with the certificate. Like, I can choose to use 128-bit or 256-bit with literally any certificate. So,
but it's got a tick next to it.
Well, I mean, they are correct in that you can use 256-bit.
But it's got nothing to do with their
But
product.
it's got nothing to do with their product.
Free issuance insurance. So the free issuance insurance says issuance insurance will allow you to submit a new request for an SSL certificate completely free of charge. And I guess the inane thing here is that once you take away all the things, all the bullet points that are related to cost, which is really no longer an issue with a certificate anyway, like you're not left with many bullet points. And then there are things like the 256-bit strong encryption. Please give us money now.
Yep.
So anyway, a chat window pops up. This chat window pops up with this avatar. I won't actually say what the name of it was, just so that they don't maybe trace through that conversation, because we might get more use out of this yet. There's this avatar of the support guy, and it's like, this is a really good-looking support guy, very well dressed, nice photo too. And you Google the image, and the dude's selling like hats on one site. He's on a dating site somewhere else. It's just stock photos, and all right, maybe we're nitpicky here, but
why not either just use Egghead from Twitter or a real person, but why fake it with the dude in a suit?
I know, it's probably not even his own name. My guess is that when you outsource support of this nature, the last name is usually not Smith.
Yes. It is as well.
It is Smith.
Literally the most.
So anyway, I sign up and we have a little bit of a chat, and I'm sort of saying, look, if I buy the cert from Trustico, will you guys make sure what's on my site is okay? I've actually got to play this in order to see that. Yeah, okay. So they say when you purchase an SSL from us, you also receive a Trust logo site seal. We provide you with a script to add the webs. So basically, it's like we're going to put a logo on the page, and your customers will look at the logo and somehow form a greater sense of trust. And then...
Because JPEG.
Because JPEG. They then go on, and of course, this is where I expect they're going to go. Say, look, buy an EV. It's the ultimate SSL certificate. Is it 256-bit, though?
Always.
That can be provided. Let's Encrypt do not issue these. True story. They don't, because they're useless, among other reasons. With this, your entire company is validated alongside the website, and your company name is placed inside the URL beside the padlock, which is green. Most of the Fortune 500 uses EV certificates, and they offer the highest assurance to your customers that you're trustworthy. Now, to be honest, this is exactly what you expect a commercial CA to say, but it's still bullshit.
And this is the problem, right? It's like the only people that say that are commercial CAs, and there's a reason for that, and it's because they're selling them.
Oh, there's a monetary incentive. So I sort of said, I can't see EV or Google, I can't see EV on Google or Facebook. Why is that? Oh, and I also can't see EV on Trustico.com, just saying. Dude says, Google and social media sites don't have them due to personalized pages per account. They can't verify them correctly.
I mean, the notion that a CA somehow validates content on a website, and from the insinuation there, all pages on a website is garbage.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. We don't have an EV certificate because we use a wildcard, which cannot be EV for similar reasons. Now, okay, fine, you can't have wildcards on EV. That doesn't really... It kind of doesn't explain, though, because if EV is so valuable, why wouldn't you just have an EV cert on your primary domain and then have a wildcard for all your other subdomains?
Yeah. I mean, they could just get a cert for google.com and www.google.com. And that still covers every single search result page.
Should I get back in touch with him and let him know?
Oh, yeah. Feedback.
I then went and said that there's no EV shown on Chrome or Safari on iOS. How will my mobile customers know I have it? So iOS 12 dropped the EV indicator on Safari. It hasn't been on Chrome for ages, certainly on iOS. The indicator is also not on Chrome and Android either, is it?
No, you don't get the EV indicator.
You don't get the indicator, but on Chrome and Android, you can actually click the padlock and drill down to it and inspect the certificate. You can't do that on Chrome and iOS.
But even then, it still doesn't give you the EV indicator. It's just certificate information.
No. Now, Mr. Smith says you can click on the padlock on Chrome Mobile as well as other browsers. Now, I then went and said, I definitely can't get this to work on Chrome or Safari on iOS. Can you please confirm this is possible? He says, my mistake. It looks like iOS doesn't allow it. You need an app to view the SSL certificate. So now you're going, all right, so I've got my customers coming to our website. They need to look for the JPEG on the page, which is probably going to be somewhere down the bottom, not up the top where the frickin' padlock is to begin with. And then if they're on iOS and they're using Chrome or Safari, they also need to download another app to then go and inspect the certificate to establish its EV. And when I asked a room full of technical people yesterday morning who actually knew what EV was, about 5% of the hands went up.
I really want to know what app this is. Because like, what app would you possibly use to inspect the certificate in the browser which won't give external
I should actually ask that. I should say, look, could you point me to the app? Maybe I'll chat to them again. I said, I know installation is hard. What does Trustico/Sectigo, so they're selling Sectigo, formerly Komodo CA, formerly Komodo, to make it easy. He says, if it's difficult, the certificate installation, on step 1 of the purchase, you can opt in to have premium installation. It's an additional product to purchase alongside the SSL certificate. If you purchase that, we will simply request your server logins, then install the certificate for you. You will not have to worry about installing the SSL certificate yourself. So now they have, obviously, your private key. They have your server, remote access into your server. Because installing certificates is hard, if only there was an easier way of installing certificates.
This like all I'm gonna do here is like just spin up a VPS on DigitalOcean, buy some like lame domain name for $1 and just buy a cert and then give them the creds and then just watch what they do on
if you would like Scott to do this, please leave a comment on the blog post and ask Scott
that would be so funny. I think it'd be fantastic. Because I'd just be really curious to see what they do while they're on the box.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, we sort of come back to this whole point where we're just lamenting the fact that this sort of thing happens. I don't understand how this is able to continue happening this way.
And to be fair, it's not so much them directly that bugs me. Like the thing that really irks me, and the reason I spend so much time on this is like, how is this allowed to come to pass? Right? Like why is there nothing that stops them from saying all of these wrong things? And
well, I mean, normally we'd have like advertising standards or something like that. Which, I mean, mind you wonder if you can't make a complaint through advertising standards boards or something. And to be clear as well, this is not us decrying EV. Like we've never sort of said nobody should ever have EV under any circumstances, or EV is inherently bad. There are some reasons why it's a little bit problematic.
It's just not as good as sold.
It's the marketing bullshit which we lose our patience with, right? It's the misrepresentation of the efficacy of the thing that people are paying for, and particularly in this industry, there's just so much snake oil and so much hyperbole, isn't there?
And I think, like, so I had a quote tweet from my talk in Crash Burn Report yesterday, and it was like my opening statement in my talk, and I think this really kind of like nails the point. I was like, you can spend a lot of money on security, but you don't have to, right? Like, there are so many things that you can do before you start spending money that will arguably give you better results than the things that you'll do later spending money on. And that's kind of like the core thing for me is you're spending like $1,000 on a cert, and maybe you need a few of them, and how much more could you do with that money?
Yeah.
Right? Like EV on your website, are you telling me that you've done every other thing that you could spend that money on before you spent it on EV? And the answer is probably no. Like, we could have taken that money and repurposed it and done something considerably better.
Yeah.
That was it.
You can spend lots and lots of money doing security better, but you don't have to. Scott Helm's opening comment. Tell you what, you could buy a lot of Pluralsight and a lot of education for $1,000.
And I bet there would be a much better return on your security improvement as a result of that.
Yeah. All right, so look, wrapping up because we do have to go wakeboarding. This week is Twilio sponsoring my blog again. Twilio obviously owns Authy. We spoke about Authy 2 weeks ago because I've been doing every alternate week. So Authy is a great mechanism for adding 2FA into your things, as well as using the apps on the phone, and I use it on the watch, as you've been seeing. So go and check those guys out. Big thanks to them for their ongoing support. We're going to go wakeboarding. You got to go to England. I've got to go to America. Yep. We will do this again from Australia because you'll be back here in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, enjoy that jet lag, man. Thanks for watching.
See ya.